welcome back to my channel. Today is Wednesday and I'm filming the second part to the pregnancy story for Ayana, and this one is going to be my whole pregnancy, planning our birth announcement all the way up into 40 weeks. And I'm going to try to condense everything. I wrote down all my notes, that way I don't ramble, so I'm going to try to go by each date. Okay, so this is fast forward. I found out I was pregnant at 4 weeks and 2 days, I believe. And this is fast forward to 7 weeks and 1 day. So a couple weeks later, on March 9th, I had my first appointment with the OBGYN, and we were able to get ultrasound pictures, which were these ones. So she put baby Bates on there, this one. So we had a couple photos here, and then there's just some information there. But that day, we left the hospital and I told Carl that I was gonna go ahead and tell my family. Just once again, this might get a little bit TMI again, so just if you don't wanna hear it, sorry, but it's just a little bit. But anyways, the day I got the ultrasound, well, once we got back home, I sent a message to my mom and my siblings, and I told them that I was pregnant and what my expected due date was. And I told Carl he could go ahead and tell his sister, because I didn't want to be the one to tell her and kind of make it seem like he didn't want to tell her. So he said, okay, he'll go ahead and let her know when he wants to. And the next day, on March 10th, we went to Wiesbaden. I can't say it, but it's probably about 3 hours away from here. We went to a concert that night, Carl and I'll insert like a little picture for you guys of us at the concert. And then after the concert, we got back to the hotel and we were charging our phones, and we decided to call his sister, FaceTime his sister, since it was at night. It would be during the day back in the States. So we FaceTimed his sister, and he told her that we were expecting. And at this point, I think Ayana, the OBGYN told us that Ayana was the size of a gummy bear, which was not the big American gummy bears. It would be like the German gummy bears. They're a little bit smaller, but that's what she told us, and that's when we announced it to them. But we told them not to tell anybody because we wanted to wait to announce our pregnancy later on when I'm further along. And I know my mom keep a secret for anything, so I know she told my aunts, and I'm not too sure who else she told, but whoever she told, they did a very good job of not telling anybody. And they didn't, I already knew that they knew, but they never commented on any of my social media hinting that they knew I was pregnant, or they never messaged me asking about the pregnancy or anything like that. They were very respectful, which I was happy for, and Carl's family as well. I think his sister did tell some people. Of course, she told his grandmother and his dad probably. I'm not too sure who else, but they were very respectful, and they didn't post anything on social media, and they weren't like constantly messaging us or anything like that. So that was really nice of them. They waited, and then fast forward to April 12th. That's when I was 12 weeks pregnant, and I remember telling Carl that weekend that, oh, you know, I'm 12 weeks now, we should start planning our pregnancy announcement and getting ideas, like, how did you want to do this? And he's like, okay. He's like, yeah, you know, just whatever. He just kind of left it up to me. And so I started looking on Pinterest and looking online, getting ideas of pregnancy announcements. And the weekend rolled around, we were at home. I remember that day we were at home, and this was on April 15th. So this was like the April 12th was when I was 12 weeks, and so this is just the weekend, and I think it was a Saturday. But we were at home, and I remember I think we were just watching TV and stuff, like hanging out, and I don't know why I kind of felt like really weird, and I felt like almost like I needed to use the restroom. And so I got up and I started walking to the restroom, but like right before I got to the toilet bowl, I could feel like a gush of like something come out, but I knew I didn't pee myself. And I was like, what the heck? And I just kind of stood there for a while. Then I like, you know, checked myself, like, since I was like I was like right in front of the toilet when it happened. Like I was ready to go. Like I could feel something like ready to like come out. And it was like a big gush of blood that came out. It was a lot of blood, and it scared me. And I was just like, I kind of calmed myself down. I kind of freaked out in the restroom, but I calmed myself down, and I just like cleaned myself up. I put a pad on and waited for a while because I was like, maybe, you know, it's like normal. And then of course me, you know how it is, like when something happens, I started Googling like things that it could be. And the first thing that popped in my mind was like, am I having a miscarriage? But I didn't have any other symptoms. I didn't have any cramps. I wasn't having a fever or anything like that, and those are normally signs of a miscarriage, and I didn't have any of that. And so I was just waiting, and I waited, and I told Carl, I told him what happened after a while. I was like, I went to the restroom and this is what happened. And he was like, I think he was just kind of, he was kind of concerned, but he didn't like, you know, like bombard me with questions or anything like that. We waited a while, and I remember I went back again to the restroom, and this time like a big blood clot came out. It was like really big. It was like probably that big. And so then I was like, okay, like that's like really big, like, you know, it's not normal, because I read online, like I said, I Googled. So before that I read like anything over the size of a quarter is something to be concerned about. And so I called the nurse's line, and I talked to a nurse online, and the guy, I was telling him everything that happened, the time that it happened, because I wrote everything down. I told him when it happened and how far along I was, and he's like, okay. He's like, just go to the ER, tell them what's going on. And at this point, I think it was close to like 11, almost midnight. I told Carl, we just got in the car, we drove out to Landstuhl. It's probably about 30 minutes from here, but we got there like it felt like 15 to 20 minutes when I looked at the clock, but we got there pretty quick. But it felt like the longest drive there, and we were just like, I was freaking out, but I didn't want to start crying. I didn't want to be like, you know, like really dramatic. So I just like tried to stay calm, and I got there, and they checked me in, they took my vitals and stuff, and we waited in the waiting room, and then they called me to the back. And I didn't want Carl to go with me, because I was like, what if something is wrong? And I don't want to, you know what I mean? Like if something were wrong, I would want to be by myself, just so that I could process my emotions by myself. But I went back to see the doctor, and of course, you know how it is when you get there, they put you in another room, and you're just sitting there waiting and waiting. And then finally the nurse came, and he told me, you know, like, you need a urine sample to check your protein levels or something like that. So I gave him a sample, and then what else did he do? He just like asked the basic questions and whatnot. And then I waited again in the room, and I was waiting and waiting. It felt like forever. And then they finally had a doctor come down, and she had the bedside ultrasound machine, and she did an ultrasound. She was able to do it over like right on top of my stomach. She didn't have to do it like the other way. But she was able to do it on top of my stomach, and she was asking like how far along I was, and did I have an ultrasound before? Was I able to see the baby before? And I told her the last time I had one was when I was at 7 weeks. So she just did the ultrasound on my belly, and like sure enough on the screen, like you could see Ayana there, and she was like so tiny, but like at the time she looked like a little, you could see her body and like her little arms and legs. And like right when the doctor put like the machine on her, she like kicked like this and her arms went up. So that was like a big sigh of big relief to me. And then she checked her heartbeat and everything, and she was fine. The doctor told me that I had a tear in my placenta, but she didn't tell me how big of a tear, where it was at, or anything like that. She didn't tell me what I should be doing for it, if there was anything I could do, or she didn't go into detail or anything about it, neither did the nurse. And he just gave me the paperwork to leave, and he told me to look out for those signs. Same thing again, like if I get more bleeding, or if I get a fever, headaches, and like, you know, they gave me a big list of symptoms of things to look out for. And he basically said, I'm okay now, the baby's okay, but he can't tell me if we're gonna be okay from 20 minutes from now, tomorrow, or next week. And basically he was saying that I could have a miscarriage like right when I leave, and that's it. Like, he just said there was nothing they could do. And so I waited about, let's see, I have it all written down, like around April 24th or 25th, so it was well over a week since our ER visit. I called the OBGYN and I told them that I had visited the ER and what they told me, and I told them I was still bleeding, and I just explained everything to them. And that nurse was very helpful. She was like, come in today. She's like, do you have time? So I called Carl and I said, I called the OBGYN and we got an appointment today at this time. So he's like, okay. And he like got off work, and then we went out there. When we got out there, they did another ultrasound. The doctor who we saw, he did another ultrasound, and he checked everything down there. And I was still bleeding a lot, and he was surprised too, because he thought it was just like, you know, like I was kind of being dramatic, like I thought it was just like a little bit, but even Carl saw everything and he said it was a lot of blood. And I didn't want to look to see like how much came out, because like he did a vaginal check, and I guess a lot of blood came out when he did that. So he was concerned. I could tell the doctor was concerned, but then once he started checking everything, he said it was fine, and he explained to me what it was. Well, he kind of touched on it, but he didn't really explain it, just because we were walking. I think he didn't really have that much time, but it was actually, I can't even think of the name of what it's called, but it's basically like your uterus is like, let's say it's like round like this, like a little balloon, and the baby usually implants up at the top, they said. But where the baby implanted was on the bottom. So I guess that was causing the bleeding or something. But he said he didn't see any tears. There was no tears or no type of damage or anything like that. And he was just keeping an eye on everything, like where it was supposed to be the uterus and the cervix. Like, I guess they're supposed to, like, your cervix is down here and your uterus is here. And I guess the placenta was down on the bottom, covering the uterus, or covering the cervix. So it was the cervix, cervix, placenta, and then the uterus. And the placenta is usually supposed to be on top, or like on the side or something, but it was like right on the bottom, covering the cervix. So I guess some ladies, like when they're pregnant, it'll stay like that, and if it stays like that, they can't have a normal delivery. They have to have a C-section. But with Ayana, the way he explained it is like a balloon. It gets bigger, and you know, you draw a dot on the balloon, you could put it here, and then once you start blowing it up, the dot will move. So kind of same concept. Once your uterus starts expanding, the placenta will move with it wherever it's attached. So we just kept going, we kept having appointments, and eventually the bleeding stopped and the placenta moved out of the way of the cervix, so it was completely clear, and I didn't have to worry about that or scheduling a C-section. So let's see, June 1st we had a regular appointment. June 1st is when we had our regular appointment at 19 weeks and 1 day. And that's when it was just our regular appointment. The doctor, she had the bedside ultrasound machine again, and she was looking, and then she asked us if we want to know the gender. Carl and I said yes, and she took a guess and said it's a girl. She said, but she's not too sure because the umbilical cord was right between her legs, and I guess her legs were very tight, like closed pretty tight, and she was sitting very low, so she couldn't get like a really good view with that machine. But the next day we had our appointment with the ultrasound technician, and that's when we did like the full ultrasound scans, and she was the one who told us and confirmed that yes, we are having a girl. So that's when we found out that we're having Ayana. That was it. Like ever since like we got that out of the way, everything with our pregnancy went smooth. And yeah, I'll upload some more pictures some more pictures for you guys after this. But my next video is going to be going up on Friday, and that's going to be my labor and delivery story. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.